First of all, I want to introduce you to my dear friend Robert Hamberger. Rob has published 5 collections, and tonight you'll hear from his latest, Nude Against a Rock. As a master of the sonnet, we'll be hearing tender poems of love, marriage and grief, plus poems about the queer artist Keith Vaughan. Robert won the London Magazine Poetry Prize 2023 with his poem Funny Girl, which I think you might hear. And he's twice been the Guardian Poem of the Week, as well as being published in all sorts of newspapers, magazines and everything. But not only that, Rob also is my editor for Patient L1 and the future projects of that. So please welcome Rob.
Hello everyone, lovely to see you all. So I'm going to read 10 poems this evening from Nude Against a Rock, which, as Simon said, is my 5th collection. It starts with 17 love poems, and I'm going to start with one of them. I love writing sonnets, and I love the puzzle of a sonnet and trying to get the rhymes in the right place, or the half rhymes in my case. This first one is called Blue. When I half wake at night and glimpse your back by the dimmest bulb from a far street light, I know I'm safe at last. Tonight I lack nothing, no one. I should sleep easy despite unsettled dreams where the old fears quiver their contours. What shadows can I see if our duvet slips down and you shiver? You might even turn over to face me if your private dream allows. But for now, here's the cobalt blue slope of your shoulder, dark hillock of your shoulder blade, furrow along your spine, its cleft of lavender. When my kiss flips your nape, it won't wake you until our room recovers the palest blue. Now this next one, it was written during Trump's first presidency, the first few weeks of his presidency, and I'm afraid it seems even more relevant today. So this one is called Love Song for a Bigot. I refuse to disappear. This hand is my complexity. Count its rivers and wedding rings. Marrying a man is my victory, your disgust. If years before I married a woman, that proves the riches of love. See them pour from the unpeopled heavens. I slip like an otter past your nets. Note how various I am. My children carry rivers in their hands. My ancestors lifted doors onto their backs, lifted toddlers and boxes in their arms 200 years ago, tested home against the holes in their boots, the spit of neighbours. I come from heroines who spoke another language. See them climb carefully into rickety boats, measuring safety over every wave and mile, shushing their babies, softly patting their backs, pinning hopes on half an hour's doze. What triumphs! To arrive and think, I'm not welcome here, but that door needs a lick of paint. I'll make it mine. I carry their name, and if you can't pronounce it, if it gutters against your tongue, it's as glorious as my fingerprints, singing for my mouth that shapes it, my ear that answers to it, like a perky dog. If whatever I do tonight makes you shudder, you don't need to watch. When I kiss his eyebrow, his shoulder, his dick, it's none of your business. I claim sanctuary in his arms. My door is bolted. I'm an eel and he's my river. Call me Scary Queen or Gully Queen. Quote Leviticus, its abominations. Answer me with your machete. It's nothing personal. Stop me seeing my child, my grandchild. I might infect them with my love. Build 1,000 walls to block me. I'll find 1,000 rivers to swim. This next one, again, was written about 4 or 5 years ago. And just to explain, my husband Keith is 17 years older than me. It may make more sense that you know that with some of the lines. It's called Gaza. We sat on the prom staring out to sea when I read you a sonnet about Gaza. We stayed quiet half a minute until you said, I fear I'll never live to see the end of that. You may, but I think it'll drag on for ages. I understood you were giving me permission for years without you, making me feel a little life after you've gone, hanging on for Gaza to be solved, waiting for no more boys to be killed playing football on the sand. We fell silent again, wanting Gaza glorious, and you here to see it. You here. Now this next one is a memory poem, and if any of you are into very camp musicals, there's a musical called Funny Girl with Omar Sharif and Barbra Streisand, came out in the 70s, and it's wonderful. I do recommend it. So this won the London Magazine Poetry Prize a couple of years ago, so I'm very fond of it. So, Funny Girl. On the brink of my teens at the Dominion, I watch with my mother through the black. Omar and Barbara glow against our faces. Sing, you are woman, I am man, in that heart-red boudoir on a 60-foot screen. Omar's dinner jacket, clipped moustache, brown eyes bigger than my head. Barbara's piled up hair, blue diamante matching her fan, sway me with their duet. I'm slinking inside their embrace. She surrenders the swan of her neck, shuts her lilac shadow eyes. Omar gathers her in his arms, croons, does it take more explanation than this? My mother knows who's woman, who's man, though she's still trying to be father and mother, fill the shape of his gap. Is this how men serenade women, who find it so absurd it makes them laugh? I want to unbuckle their clothes, bow tie at the throat, blue diamante, unfold whoever's softer to the touch, his hand or hers, my finger to lips, sense when it's night, his mouth on mine. It's a feeling I like feeling very much. When no one's watching, I risk being woman and man, wriggle between their voices, blur before their smoky gaze. My skin a swan's feather, prickling at the wing. I burst into flames with this feeling, all the time sitting silent in my singed and secret dark. So, a couple more. During lockdown, RuPaul's Drag Race kept me alive. And this is a celebration of that. It's called Queens. Dragging ourselves past man traps, straitjackets, cages. We've been good boys, walking in straight lines. We bend the rules now, balance on stilettos, dent our shame into shape. Snorting like unbroken stallions, let's wallow in girly songs, mouthing every word. Let's pirouette under cherry trees, squint through keyholes at a showering man. Because we understand why that mongrel sniffs each lamppost. Let's not go meekly to the knacker's yard. Next winter, let's be nimble queens, climbing horse chestnuts, swinging, soaring, shouting down, while our branches drop on pavements like a messy nest, as if we must be cut before we can blossom. And this next one is another sonnet, an unrhymed sonnet. It's called First Nations Man in a Montreal Sauna, and it starts with an epigraph from Natalie Diaz from The Guardian in July 2020. She said, "Can we create these intimate spaces within the very nation that doesn't want us?" This mirror's darkness unravels our limbs, giving and taking the gifts we both crave. Fingers wallow through his thick black hair, our living skin. He calls mine soft. The feelings mouths engender, more minutes overwhelming, my God, wrenching from my throat. Afterwards, when we talk in that dim intimacy, he speaks about wanting to see London one day, and how living in his flat is okay most of the time, meaning sometimes it's not, and how he must get back for his dinner shift at the cafe. And I'm going to end with 4 poems from the title sequence, Nude Against a Rock. They're poems after the gay British painter Keith Vaughan, who died in 1977. He was quite a tortured soul, Keith. He was, I think, particularly affected by homosexuality being illegal for a lot of his adult life. He wrote a marvellous and very honest journal, and I use quotations from the journal as epigraphs to most of the poems. The other thing, though, to say about Keith Vaughan, his paintings celebrate the male body. So as well as having trouble with being gay, he was also celebrating gayness in quite a subversive way, I think. And this quotation that starts the whole sequence is from his journals on the 4th of March 1944. And I'm thinking it's a good message for us as queer people, queer artists. He wrote, As society becomes more cramping, so the art of individuals burns with a brighter and more feverish flame. And this is the opening poem in the sequence, and it starts with, it's called Two Figures Embracing. It starts with a quotation from his journals, the first entry on the 25th of August 1939. He wrote, "I want more than anything someone I can love and trust, and who is willing to return the same. But I cannot find that person, nor do I know any longer where to look for him." And these poems are in Keith Vaughan's imagined voice. A street in Amiens where the men hunch their shoulders and ask for a light. A whitewashed chapel on Santorini where I catch his eye, that glint, the tiniest flame. Some flicker of interest, dark lashes letting me in. Oh, dive, dive, this chill, its risk, goose pimple temptation. To the Black Horse in Soho, through parks at dusk, amusement arcades, the gents under the clock tower. A week before war, my prince won't come. Where's a moth meant to settle these days, these urgent nights? Near Marble Skin at the Tate, chalk and charcoal make my paper bridegroom. Let me say, I do. Pledge with head and hand my years to him. This next one is the title poem. So it's the painting Nude Against a Rock by Keith Vaughan, which is on the front cover. And in August 1958, he wrote in an essay called Painter's Progress, "These compositions rely on the assumption, hard to justify perhaps, but nonetheless real to me, that the human figure, the nude, is still a valid symbol for the expression of man's aspirations and reactions to the life of his time. When I stand my nude against a rock, who wins? The nude scores on softness, sleek as a man able to be gentle, worthy of love. If his hand rests to steady himself beside the black bulk, it doesn't mean he believes stone is stronger than skin, armor the toughest way to survive. I pitch the body against blocks, boulders and monoliths, somewhere near the sea, under pewter cloud. What a weight he carries on his shoulders. This gilt sun travels across his nipples, torso, groin, glinting patches of pistachio and coral, even pearl. I'll balance my final touches with a truce, each leaning on the other. That crag cushions his shoulder when he tilts his chin. Shadows crosshatch their stony valley. This man rises like a vulnerable answer, always saying yes. And just two more. This one is called The Trial. And as I said, for most of Keith Vaughan's life, his homosexuality was illegal. He wrote in his journals on July the 18th, 1965, "It is difficult to bear in mind that with all one's honours, distinctions, successes, etc., one remains a member of the criminal class. How can one feel part of one's time and society in that case? Am I the hooded prisoner? Yellow ropes bind me. My sorry neck tilts towards the gunmetal warder, as if wary of another punch. At the edge of court, desire is a spearhead candle, its lemon flame too weak to keep me warm. How guilty am I? A tiny white hole in my hood, peep show to the jury. I dream of a dozen louts tumbling, if I'm lucky. Their panther limbs bristle as they nuzzle and nudge, lick sweat from this man's nape, that man's lip. May I say nothing? These words can be used in evidence against me. Self-snares pinion me like a verdict. Blind my eyes. Justice feathers the air, hooded and tied, cowed and irresistible." And this is the last poem I'll read this evening. It's the penultimate poem in the sequence and in the book. And it starts with a quotation from Keith Thorne's journals a couple of months before he died. The poem is called Horizontal Figure, from one of his amazing paintings. He wrote, "I thought in bed last night about Boulanger, the French-Canadian I picked up in the York Minster one night about 1944 and took him home to bed. He lay sleeping, heavy with drink. Some weeks later, I was told he'd been blown to pieces on the Anzio beachhead. Adieu to the drowsy youth, his arm flung back in dreams. My kisses fail to wake him, this skitter of moths across skin. 30 years gone, still warm between sheets, I swim there again. His nipples, the sheen from oyster shells, his navel, mother of pearl. He is pebbles and breadcrumbs. I can't cup his charred gifts in my hand or forget his eyes." Thank you. Right, the next part of the evening.
I want to tell you about my friend, a man called Simon Maddrell, who I first met on July 2019. We chatted in our communal garden, and he asked me if he could write my story, my life story, but in poetry. I loved the idea and said yes immediately. After many years of chatting and talking and recording and searching for funding, we now have Patient L1, which tells just a few of those stories spanning my 75 years. Tomorrow, I'll be telling those stories at Positive East, But tonight, Simon is going to tell them. Simon,
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Joe. This is prologue. Recollections may vary. As this is my memoir, expect words like Jonathan, Blake, nay Goodman, 1949. Expect sex. A lot of you think of nothing else. But bottom, Dom, is only half of it. Expect drama school, synagogue, cottages, stages. As this is memoir, expect prep school, sucking cock. Expect smells like shit, magnolia, vanilla, lemon drizzle cake, sweat, charcoal, burnt of course. Twisted hazel, climbing hydrangea, Nigel the other half, for half of it. As this is memoir, expect Mother Goose, traipsing the lawns in tragic togas, expect Rose Bruford's knickers. Tybalt slain by Romeo, from a far country, maths, woodwork, cricket, useless bats, the gardener, the caretaker. As this is memoir, recollections may vary. The guilty are innocent beyond doubt, the innocent guilty. Joe, Joff, Johnny, Jonty, to name the usual suspect. Yellow, red, pink, triangles, upturned, act up, facing down, AZT fingers, DDI toes. As this is memoir, I'll walk like a gorilla, sleep like a corpse, expect death, and you'll get it soon enough. I'll be patient L1. Patient L2 is dead. HIV, AIDS, it does that. As this is memoir, I'll schmise, I'll sext with strangers who turn out to be frauds. Some have drugs, others don't turn up. For all that, I'll live a lot longer than you think. Edgbaston College Preparatory School, Birmingham, 1958. Eileen Fisher. My art teacher had metal legs, yet her heart was not black crayons, but pink pastel instead. She talked to Mother. He's not academic like his brother. You must encourage his creative side. I wasn't sporty either, so Saturdays were sparkled by train trips to Stratford-upon-Avon to see Shakespeare's Bottom and others. It was there, of such stuff, were my dreams made on. Shakespeare Memorial Theatre, Stratford-upon-Avon, 1959. Like John Gielgud. I always knew I was other. The older boys preferred blondes to a swarthy Jewish kid, but I still got my share of cock. At 10, I saw Charles Laughton's Bottom in A Midsummer Night's Dream. I announced to Mother I was going to be an actor. That's wonderful, dear, but I hope not, like John Gielgud. British stage actor and director Sir John Gielgud was arrested and charged with persistent importuning at a Chelsea public lavatory in October 1953, shortly after being knighted. The Rose Bruford College of Speech and Drama, Sidcup, 1967. Improvised explosive device. I was never good at improvisation. Perhaps I am afraid to reveal my face. the hidden. At my drama school audition, invited to be outrageous, I slide across the floor on my back. And under the cloth-covered table, all I can see are Rose Bruford's knickers. As if I need reminding what really stirs my pants. Still, no one else can see what I can. And I hope they never will. Derek Jarman Studio, Butler's Wharf, London, SE1, 1979. The trapeze at Butler's Wharf. A circus filled with sailors hung at a party in his warehouse home, but it isn't a trapeze hanging. Though there is a man in a leopard skin harness alongside a tightrope walker with one hand in his pants, as Derek could have said, we are both on the edge of a desolation. Life slings and swings will throw us. San Francisco, February 1982. Grilled pig. For Mother, it wasn't the bacon but the shellfish, freed into reform by her father. You eat what you are, lobster and pig. For me, pigs, another unorthodox proclivity, hung by sweating in a white-tiled room, hung by 4 chains, one little piggy, Daddy Pig too. I honked all the way home. London Middlesex Hospital, October 1982. Patient L1. You have something. We don't know. It is a problem with no name. So we'll call it persistent lymphadenopathy. You, patient L1, for now. But it won't last long, perhaps 3 to 6 months. Then we'll know the cause and prove the effect. Elf Row, Shadwell, London E1, 1982. An hour later, after the short goodbye, a bat follows me on the bus. It's not even night, but it is. The sky is so bat-laden, I don't know the colour, but it is. Here I am, in my flat, shuffling cards, my groin swelling in an empty bed. I flush my keys wrapped in a sock, hide lollipops under my armpits, Mother's vase thrown on the carpet, and I'm still feeling the bat, flapping at one window, tapping on spiral steps, the light bulb, a gloomy sun. And then I look at the edge of the bath. A few weeks later, the Roman way. I never left acting. Acting left me. Me alone knew I was going to die soon. Soon I planned to end it all, the Roman way. 3 razor blades line the bath scroll, 3 just in case, Mother's voice worried my sweat. Clean up your own mess. My own mess. I have been cleaning it up ever since. the day after. Yesterday, a deathbed came calling, but I wasn't in. I was listening to a dark song, its wicked tune a catchy guilt, which is to say the same truth, tapped on the window before it fell in an oozing moment. Like having a shit soul, an arse, infected with who knows how, you spell who knows what, a rich dish needing a deep wash, a small animal in endless space, pretending it doesn't feel. Russell Square Tube Station, London, 1st of April 1983. First day out. I saw an advert in Capital Gay. Lesbians and gays holding hands for a nuclear-free future. I saw the coach up the road by Gays the Word and turned back in dread. But these ochre and crimson pantaloons swished me. Hello, I'm Nigel. What's your name? We've been together ever since. 38 years ain't bad. Onthwin Miners Welfare Hall, Neath, 22nd of October 1984. Perverts support the pits. In single file, in deathly silence, we walked into the miners' hall. Then a single clap changed the world from what we once escaped. Here we had returned home. All out, dancing in Dulais, sleeping in the valleys, marching in pride, miners and their wives, shoulder to shoulder. They lost their strike, but won our war. In July 1984, Mark Ashton and Mike Jackson founded Lesbians and Gays Support the Miners, with many members joining them in the fundraising and activism, including Jonathan Blake and Nigel Young. They raised over £20,000 for the striking miners in Dulais, Neath and Swansea Valleys, including a famous concert, Pits and Perverts, supported by the band Bronski Beat at the Electric Ballroom, Camden, on the 10th of December 1984. It's my birthday. In June 1985, South Wales miners and women-led support groups marched at Pride in London. In October 1985, the Labour Party conference passed a resolution committing the party to support lesbian and gay rights. Thanks in part to the block vote of the National Union of Mine Workers. Mail Road, Herne Hill, London, 1990. My poem is terminal, illness in a bed. It catches up, plummets, sweating, brow beaten, Zoverax, candle, burning boat, Caniston, ring of fire, Imodium, absent family, rabbi, circle of friends, all the things that can't stop my death, rattling my breath, salt-tongued, pink shroud, salt-fingered, sunless curtains, sheets, damp, hands outspread, my body wet, broken, tree, twisted, hazel, from virus injected, seed, planted, stones on a grave. Someday, soon. But later that year, the sun rising, There was nothing but darkness and sickness in this body laid low, deathly shingles here in one bed, out of questions and even out of sorrow for thy own self. Thou art what you be, rising from my centre and building a patio, then a garden, as if nothing is more crucial than to heed calls from soil. These windows shake, ceilings shudder over me, walls fall in, but my boundaries are also the horizon. Thy motions inspired creation of my own nature's sphere. 2 years later, communal garden. After facing death and bearing its witness, my sanctuary becomes our whole world. The garden's rising from dust wasteland, its boundaries co-op homes, forming an edge of edges that are imbued with paths, symbols, flora that scent the ever-evolving drift toward my stretched horizon. Mail Road, Herne Hill, London, late 1995. Blood Brothers. Nigel woke up, purple stained white t-shirt on his back, life-changing swings and leather chaps, plays and books of haiku in the living room, but these words won't fit, like chlamydia, syphilis, gonorrhea, herpes, warts or crabs. It's been a while since we've both been to the clinic to get a checkup. Choosing to leave the news to another voice. Now, brothers in a viral chase, you've joined fashionably late. Tailored trousers and woven patch. 21 years later, looking back. Thinking 33 was the last age I was going to be, another famous actor who exits stage left. As it turned out, it wasn't me who was Rock Hudson, but it was me who acting left until Dominic West played a version of me. Now I am still alive and acting and not a disappointment to any of my fans. One of those roles was in an internet series called The Grass is Always Grinder, which is on the 5016 Street official YouTube channel, 2018 to 19. The grass is always grinder. If only we could watch this sex certificate version of Heartstopper back in my day. Not for the sex, I had plenty and not. Even for grinder, there is more than one way to skin a cock. I wish I'd had its glitterball light, not those dance floor shadows we lost. Back then, most days were harsh, others we didn't bother. Seen worldwide 10 million times, me a few dozen. I skip through scenes to where I appear. Mail Road, Herne Hill, London. Nigel Young passed away, peacefully at home with his life partner Jonathan Blake by his side at 3:45 p.m. on the 18th of January 2022, aged 75. Nigel Young, 21st of June 1946 to the 18th of January 2022. Gay political activist, socialist, poet, playwright, mensch. Six months later, every hazel has a story. In 1863, the curious curled and twisted hazel was discovered in a Frochester hedgerow. Its corkscrew branches bear heart-shaped leaves, mid-green and toothed, also slightly distorted. Being both male and female, the male flopping yellow catkins turn into a cob nut with a short papery casing where the nut protrudes. The female flowers into a filbert husk, which is long and covers its nut. Both are sweet and tasty. Nigel and I planted one in the co-op garden in April 1989, and now it towers over me, unlike Nigel. Instead, his ashes mingle with the roots, feed mycelium like Celtic magic. He talks to the magnolia tree, as do I. The row of willow, hawthorn and hazel is calling out to be hand-woven like Nigel did, weaving the text of his plays, performing them in the living room next door, nurturing my contorted spirit. The last three poems. 1 year later. Survivor's guilt. An apparent obligation, like double douche. To feel it's only polite, like swallowing cum. What are the chances with bareback sex of even being born? 1 in 400 trillion. Being born a gay man? 1 in 10 quadrillion. Now that's very fortunate. To live 75 years, to survive for 42. Like snowdrops bloom in winter. The Caldecott Centre, King's College Hospital, London SE5, Spring 2024. I want to leave my body for science. Not my corneas that hover in clouds of brown, the motor cortex cranking my survival seesaws, nor my atrium's triple detour of Bibles, feathers and forget-me-nots, but my virus-cheating liver, the purpleless skin, bone marrow and adenoids, a snuffleless nose, my thymus overperforming with flying T-cell receptors. But no one will be interested, the consultant said. I don't know how you aren't dead. The last poem is set at Jonathan's 75th birthday party. 35 years later. I told you from the beginning, I'll live a lot longer than you think. Looking at a cracked mirror image of my 40th birthday in our co-op garden, LGSM Mike, the Eno 3, the Magnolia, Michael and Vic, Paulette sits under the twisted hazel. My 40th present, the cherub bird bath remains, balanced thanks to a crock from a broken pot, though everything else around it has changed. Brother Dick arrives. How far he has come. Missing a Nigel's open face and open-necked Fiji Paradise Pacific shirt, exotic like Vic's burnt Basque cheesecake, light as air, rich as sky. Thank you.